Hello, it's Melissa R. Thomson again, or M for short. And if you didn't know, I am from Generation Z. Being part of Gen Z means I was a generation who grew up with the internet. Of course, the internet actually was made in 1983, but it was officially mainstream in the early 2000s, which is where I come in. But before I continue with the video, I just want to quickly introduce the speed paint in the background. The speed paint is art of my one and only original character that I actually don't have a name for. Her name was Ryan, but I've been since trying to workshop it. But if you're interested in seeing her, then the finished work will be posted on my other socials, link in description. I had first been introduced to the internet by my mom when I was in first grade. To be honest, I didn't know it was the internet because the only website I was on was a fun little website called Miniplay, or maybe minigames.com. I'm actually not sure which one it was. And I always played the same game. It was my mom's favorite game, and she would play it when she had downtime, and I would just play when she had a try. And that game was Bubble Trouble. From kindergarten to 4th grade, that was all the internet for me. It was later when I was reintroduced to the internet again, and that was because my school introduced us to Sumdog and Cool Math games. And I think that's every kid's childhood. I do remember some kids showing me videos, but my brain never connected the dots that they came from a different website, so I was always amazed when they found videos by themselves. I will never know why I never expanded my search. Sometimes I would use another website that started with a V. I totally forgot what it was called, and I would use it to listen to music. And that was all I used for the internet anyways, games and music. And then middle school happened. I never had full access to the internet until middle school, and that was because for Christmas I was given my very own iPod. I wasn't allowed to own a phone at this point. It was at this point I heard of a little website called YouTube, and probably not to anyone's surprise, it was because of this weird, loud YouTuber named Markiplier. My iPod only had a couple of songs downloaded and a bunch of games on it, but it was enough to keep me occupied on the school field trip. I was sitting next to my friend, let's call her Amy, and she was my only friend who owned a smartphone at the time. I was starting to get bored of drawing in my notebook, so I looked over to see what she was watching, and all I saw was a guy playing a game that was traversing a twisted sewer. I later learned the name of the game was Vanish, by the way, and I won't lie, I thought he was hilarious, so we would watch him together when we had free time. I think back then the signal for phones wasn't really strong, so when me and my buddy wanted to watch him, we would have to pause it and then do something else for a bit, and then come back 5 minutes later to watch. However, the school internet was much faster, and because my mom was a teacher, I would be in her classroom after school watching his videos on my small screened iPod as she graded papers into the late evening. I still have the iPod. I used the crap out of it until I was in my last year of middle school, when I was gifted my first smartphone. Now, as much fun as I had watching YouTube in my youth, I also stumbled into social media. YouTube is technically a social media platform, but when I was younger, I didn't make that observation. The platform I stumbled onto is a little site called Tumblr. To give you an idea of how I found Tumblr, I'd also recently been introduced to anime by Amy as well. The anime was a little show called Hitalia. Please don't judge me. It was one of my favorite shows. In fact, when I learned about online shopping, I had purchased the series on DVD. My mom had no idea the anime was for mature audiences, mostly because it was animated. Even though I had rewatched the show multiple times, I craved more content. And Tumblr happened to have multiple artists who also loved the same anime as me and made awesome art. It was like hitting the jackpot of content, as they would make cute little comics and stories with their favorite characters. If you're wondering, my favorite characters were America and Canada. Though I loved the comics, I also loved another kind of fan blog, and that was an Ask blog. Ask blogs were another big part of my internet life. I was so in awe as people would let their followers submit questions, and not only did they answer in character, they would also draw the response. I love this idea that I also want to make my own blog, but I felt bad for picking a character somebody already had. But I did run into artists who would make their own original characters to insert and make Ask blogs for them. And Hitalia just so happened to be a show about personified governments. And nobody really made one for Native Americans. I would be embarrassed, but you know what? I've been cringe ever since I found the internet, and I don't plan on stopping. Look at me now, I'm a YouTuber. I was able to ask my mom for a drawing tablet for my laptop and use Metabang as my drawing software. And I'll be honest, even though I have an iPad and Procreate, I think the features Metabang offered and continue to offer is very nice because there are so many things available. I ran that blog for a while, and it was a kickstart to my art social media presence. Unfortunately, I had deleted the whole blog when I stopped posting on it. I honestly regret that decision, and now I wish I just had left it alone. Now that blog and the art are gone, this was the majority of my online presence before moving to my current platforms. After my Ask blog phase, I jumped into another fandom and platform. Leaving behind my Ask blog, I moved on to making comics. At that time, I stumbled onto Instagram, and this would be my main platform for a while before I started branching out. Mentioned in my video plans for 2024, I had a little comic called The Nightmares We Can Now See, and this was my second attempt at a long-form comic. That comic single-handedly pushed me into the phase I am now, making fan comics for fandoms with my own headcanons and universes. I'm still going strong, albeit slow, for about 5 years. While I'm sad I didn't really explore the internet when I was younger, I'm also glad that I didn't. I never got to experience web forums or websites like Newgrounds, but I'm glad for the people I met along the way. While I didn't really keep in touch with my old internet friends, I'm glad that they were in my life, and I was surrounded by supporting artists that encouraged me down this road. While I'm not sure I want to continue my life online, I'm glad that I met my audience and my mutuals. They may be random people on the internet, but at the end of the day, they helped me find my passion of creating and entertaining. Thanks for watching the video. I know my recent videos have been a little short, but it's a little easier on me, and I like to try my shot at a longer video, one day. I also didn't realize how awesome having a channel would be. As mentioned before, I'm drawing my OC again, and I usually stay away from original work, but since I recycle my content, I feel more incentive to draw more. Speaking of my art, if you'd like to see my completed work, then my socials are in the description, and if you would like to read more of my ongoing comics, then I recommend visiting Tumblr, as it's the only place I can organize my work. And with that, I hope you be safe and have a good day. Bye-bye!